the U.S. Attorney General. You're invited to take the floor so that we can get started. Thank you.
Well, good morning, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is an honor to address the distinguished members of this committee and to discuss the goals and really the sacred responsibilities that we all share. During my tenure as Attorney General, I've had the opportunity to work closely with many of you and with leaders from the European Commission and the Council as well as with Justice and Interior ministers from across the European Union. America's law enforcement relationship with the European Union and its member states is one of my highest priorities. Now, since taking office, I have co-chaired the EU-U.S. Justice and Home Affairs Ministerials every 6 months, and I look forward to co-hosting the next such ministerial during the Polish presidency at the United States Department of Justice in November in Washington, D.C. It has been a privilege to be a part of this work and to contribute to the special relationships that exist between our nations and that for so many years have helped to protect our collective security, our prosperity, as well as our civil liberties. Now, like each of you, I am committed to building on this record of progress, and that commitment is what brings me here today. On behalf of President Obama and the American people, I want to thank you for inviting me to join you and for welcoming me to this very beautiful city. Today, I hope, and I am really confident, that it will serve, as it has so often in the past, as the meeting ground for our critical international cooperation. Now, over the years, by working together, and I want to emphasize that, by working together in common cause and in good faith and with mutual respect and shared commitment to reciprocity, we have been successful in building a safer world. We have identified and we have dismantled international organized crime networks, illegal human trafficking rings, and global financial fraud schemes. We've made meaningful strides in combating gang violence, cybercrime, intellectual property theft, government corruption, as well as child exploitation. And as we've bolstered our crime-fighting efforts, we've also upheld civil liberties, and we have upheld the rule of law and succeeded in protecting essential privacy rights. Now, particularly during the last decade, our cooperative efforts have led, I think, to historic steps forward in fighting crime and in fighting terrorism, while at the same time protecting privacy. There are 3 U.S. EU agreements in particular that should be noted in this regard: the U.S. Europol agreement, the U.S. Eurojust agreement, and the EU-U.S. extradition and mutual legal assistance agreements, which provided the basis for 54 extradition and mutual legal assistance treaties. Now, these 3 sets of agreements have permitted exchanges of law enforcement and counterterrorism information in connection with hundreds of investigations that have helped to protect EU and U.S. citizens while also protecting their privacy. I believe that they stand as brilliant successes for all of our nations. Indeed, I am unaware of any suggestion that there has ever been a single data protection violation under these law enforcement agreements. We must deal with, I believe, what is real and what is not hypothetical. Let me give one recent illustration of what they have allowed us to accomplish. By putting our mutual legal assistance treaties to use and by working with Eurojust and Europol, law enforcement officials and prosecutors from across Europe and the United States recently were able to shut down a major international ring of child pornographers and sexual predators. Now, what might otherwise have been a single arrest really quickly developed into a comprehensive investigation and prosecution of more than 20 defendants in 5 different countries. Together, we rescued more than 50 children, the most vulnerable among us, and put a stop to some of the most heinous crimes committed anywhere in the world. Now, this is just one example of the impact of our joint public safety efforts. And of course, no aspect of this work is more important or indeed is more urgent than advancing the global fight against terrorism. and we were reminded of this fact just last week as we marked the 10th anniversary of the most devastating terrorist attacks ever carried out. On the morning of September the 11th, 2001, nearly 3,000 innocent people from across America and from 90 other countries were senselessly and tragically killed, senselessly and tragically murdered. Among the victims were dozens of European citizens from France, Germany, Ireland, Italy, Lithuania, the Netherlands, Portugal, Poland, Romania, Spain, Sweden, the United Kingdom, as well as Belgium. In the wake of the 9/11 attacks, our nations came together as never before, bound by our shared grief as well as our collective resolve to act as partners, to work as allies, and to meet the unprecedented threats before us in an historic commitment to our joint security and to our common values. In fact, as an immediate response to 9/11, the EU and the U.S. came together to negotiate the new mutual legal assistance and extradition agreements to demonstrate to the world our partnership in protecting the security and the liberties of our citizens, as well as our determination to stand together in combating terrorism. In recent years, we have been reminded in London and in Madrid, in Kampala, and in Mumbai, and tragically most recently in Abuja, that the threats that we face are still very, very real. They demand our constant attention, our continued vigilance, and our increased cooperation.